What's up, and welcome to the 49ers Camelot Show. We are talking 49ers football. And one of the things that we're going to do today is go through our latest mailbag from 49ers Webzone. We have some questions, we have some statements that we're going to go through. But before I jump into that, I wanted to just mention a few things that John Lynch talked about yesterday on Tuesday when he met with the media to talk about the team and those kinds of things. And I have a highlight of some things, 8 different things that jumped out to me. But the biggest thing, even before I get into those 8, is that something that he said that he talked about with regarding Trey Lance. So I expected, because Brock Purdy still hasn't had his surgery, that could happen early next week. I'll talk about that in a minute. But he still hasn't had a surgery. And so if you think about early March, 6 months later is early September. And so he's likely not going to be ready to start the season, which means Trey Lance is going to be starting at least a game or 2 or 3. And so I kind of expected, because of that John Lynch would come out and just gush over Trey Lance. That was my thinking. But instead, here's what he said. He did say some good things about Trey, but here's one of the things that he said. I think his biggest thing, we just have to find a way. And I've had a lot of conversations with Trey early in my career. I struggled to stay healthy. And then I hit an 8-year stretch where I didn't miss a snap. So sometimes you just have to go through the rough patches, and he has to play. So it sounds like he's saying, hey, he's got to stay healthy. And so that kind of surprised me. And then he said, and that's the biggest challenge. We have a team that's ready to go now. So he's saying this team's ready to win the Super Bowl. He has to get out there and play. Brock Purdy got that opportunity this year. He grabbed it. He did great things. We'll see at some point how we get Trey that opportunity, because we very much believe in him, who he is as a person and who he is as a quarterback. So this is the crazy thing to me. The fact that not only did John Lynch mention that Trey Lance needs to learn to stay healthy, but the fact that he mentioned how Purdy grabbed hold of that opportunity, and how we'll see at some point how we get Trey that opportunity. This was huge for me. It made it sound to me like the 49ers already believe that Brock Purdy is the guy, that he's QB1. And that Lance would be lucky to get a shot with this team. I thought that maybe there would be a competition for the starting position. I no longer think that. I think that they believe that Brock Purdy is the guy, and that Trey Lance is just going to have to take the opportunities that he gets and makes the most of them. If by chance Trey Lance starts the season as the starting quarterback, which I believe that he will, if by chance he plays out of his mind and the team is undefeated when he's starting those games, then that could be the open door that he needs. But I was really surprised how Lynch addressed the topic of Trey Lance. He didn't gush over him the way that I thought that he would. He seemed to talk like Brock Purdy is the guy for sure. So that kind of surprised me. Among some of the other things that Lynch talked about, let me give you 8 things that jumped out to me. First, he said that Purdy will meet with his elbow surgeon in Arizona later this week. If all looks good, then he could have surgery early next week. And so hopefully that happens and they're able to take care of that really, really well. The second thing, the 49ers will consider bringing in another quarterback to, in Lynch's words, insulate the team from injury. So he talked about the fact that they have some injury issues at the quarterback position, and they're definitely going to look into bringing another quarterback in. That wasn't a surprise. We'll see how that goes. Number 3, they don't expect new defensive coordinator Steve Wilks to make wholesale changes. They'll stick with what's been successful. Nothing really surprising there. 4, the 49ers' relationship with Jimmy Garoppolo has probably run its course. Those are Lynch's words. So he had some good things to say about Garoppolo, as you would expect, but he did say that Garoppolo's days are probably over in Santa Clara. Number 5, Lance is recovering well and has started throwing, so that's good news. Number 6, 2022 was a breakthrough year for Diamador Lenore, so he had some good things to say about Lenore. 7, this was a pretty big one. Safety Sean Gibson wants to play another season, and the 49ers would like to bring him back. So I thought that was pretty big news. And number 8 is that quarterback coach Brian Griese is staying with the 49ers. That is excellent news because I think Griese did a good job with these young quarterbacks. So that's those are some of the things that jumped out to me. Obviously, he said a lot more than that. But let's jump into the mailbag and look at what questions and what statements that you had and how I responded to them in the 49ers Webzone mailbag. You can go to 49erswebzone.com. You can search for site staff and then find my name, and you'll be able to see all of the articles that I write. Also, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the things that we're doing here. Have some great guests coming up. Matt Barrows is supposed to join me in a couple of weeks. Also, some other really great guests that I'm hoping to have lined up soon. Also, if you're listening to this on iTunes or wherever you listen, make sure you rate, review, and follow us so that you can always know what's going on. But let's get into this mailbag. Here's the first question from Roy. If Kyle wants to win a Super Bowl, why doesn't he play Trey the way he plays Jimmy and Brock? Let him throw the ball more. Well, I think that this answer is pretty simple. I'm not going to say pretty simple because then you'd turn me off. But I think that this isn't a pretty easy thing to discern. Why doesn't Kyle Shanahan run plays like he does for Brock and for Jimmy? Why didn't he do that for Trey? And the reason is because he doesn't believe in Trey like he does the other two. I mean, you can look at the fact that Kyle called plays more aggressively and a little differently for Brock Purdy than he did for Jimmy Garoppolo. Showed me that he has more faith in the rookie quarterback who was barely drafted, Purdy, than he does in Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been around for several years. And I think that Trey Lance isn't there yet. He's raw. I think that he's probably more raw than the team even thought that he was. I think that he doesn't run as well as they thought. Maybe he's not as fast as what they thought. And so because of that, I think that Kyle just doesn't trust him entirely. And so I that's to be expected. You know, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing that we have going on here, is that Trey needs experience in order for Kyle to trust him more, but he's not getting that experience because Kyle doesn't trust him more and because he keeps getting hurt. And so he has to get that experience. He's going to be the quarterback through the spring, through the summer and training camp. He's going to be the quarterback at the beginning of the season. So hopefully he'll get some of that experience. Let's see. Jim wrote, Lance is the worst quarterback in the league. He would be average at best, Division I college quarterback. Complete, total bust. Come on, Jim. I mean, this is like, here, two things. First, you must not be familiar with Blaine Gabbert, Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Mullins, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Davis Mills, Jordan Love, Josh Johnson, Russell Wilson, the 2022 version. Those are like off the top of my head when I wrote those today. You telling me that Trey Lance is worse than all of those guys? I don't buy that. And the other thing is that Lance has played 15 quarters. 15 quarters. You can't call him a bust after 15 quarters. That's just not enough time. I feel like I'm in the movie Groundhog Day. You know, I'm just like living, because I'm constantly hearing this from fans that Trey Lance is a bust. It's like I'm living the same thing over and over again. You know, I just want to grab the toaster and jump into the bathtub. I mean, this is getting old. Gee. All right, Dale, along the same lines, man, where do these guys come from? Dale wrote, Lance was a horrible pick because he's a horrible fit for this offense. Shanahan had to install a remedial offense last season just so he could function. And the real reason Jimmy G practiced off the side was that they didn't want people to see how unprepared Lance was by comparison. Forget the toaster. I'm just going to rip off somebody's pickup truck and run off the cliff. I mean, it's Groundhog Day, let me tell you. So Romello wrote, Mac Jones played the same amount of football as Trey, but nobody says anything. And Romello's right. Trey Lance didn't play much in college, but neither did Mac Jones. I mentioned this before, that neither did Cam Newton. And so, yes, Trey didn't play in the SEC like those two guys did, but he still came into the NFL with about the same amount of experience. But he's right. Nobody talks about that. Dr. PT says, Mark, do you see the 49ers being able to keep Jimmy Ward? I think he's a very important piece to the defense as a slot or free safety. Are they going to make a run to keep Jimmy Ward? Yes. But do I think they're going to be able to keep him? No. And here's the reason why. The 49ers place a fair market value on each of their free agents. They're likely going to slot Jimmy Ward as a nickel corner, and Jimmy Ward's going to be he's going to want to be paid as a starting free safety or a starting safety in general. A starting safety is going to be paid more than a nickel corner because even though these days nickel corners play a lot of snaps, they still don't play as much, and they're just not considered quite as vital. But I mean, depending on the team you're playing, and the receivers you're facing, you could argue that the nickel corner is just as important. But yes, Jimmy Ward is very valuable to the 49ers defense. I just think that he's probably going to get paid like a starting safety, and the 49ers are not going to pay him what he's going to get. So I think that he's probably played his last game with the 49ers. I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't expect to see him back. Dr. WDS says, asks, are Jimmy Ward or Mike McGlinchey going to hit the lotto as free agents? I'd love to have both back if the price is right. Well, I already mentioned Ward, that I don't think he's going to be back, but I also don't think that Mike McGlinchey is going to be back. Quality tackles are hard to find. And look, I've been really hard on Mike McGlinchey, but he is a good tackle, a good NFL tackle. And so I think that he's going to get paid a lot, and he's going to get paid more than what the 49ers are going to offer. So I don't expect to see him. And when John Lynch spoke yesterday, he did not sound optimistic. He said that they would like to have McGlinchey back, but he didn't seem to think that that was going to happen because he believes that McGlinchey is going to get paid as well. So Dick wrote, not sure Purdy hung on to the ball too long when he was hurt. The tight end who was blocking for him didn't do his job. So Dick is referencing something that I said here on my show not too long ago about how on the play that Brock Purdy was injured in the NFC Championship game, that he held onto the ball a split second too long. Dick is saying that that's not true, that this is all on Tyler Kroft, the tight end, the backup tight end who missed his block on Hassan Reddick. So I was speaking in response to what John Chapman told me when he was on the show. Chapman said that it is common for the 49ers to be in a situation where the backup tight end is blocking someone like Hassan Reddick. And you can go to this article on 49ers Webzone, this mailbag, and you can read more in depth with John's statement, because he goes in, he really breaks down the fact that they were in a wing set. And what the wing set means is that it's putting the edge rusher like Hassan Reddick further away from the quarterback than if he was lined up on the right tackle. Like if he was lined up on the right tackle, he's right there. But in a wing set, he's actually outside of the tackle spot and outside of another tight end. And so the way that they had it set up, he was further away than he normally would. So the 49ers felt good about this. And so, as John put it, it wasn't just Tyler Kroft. Yeah, he missed his block, but Mike McGlinchey missed his block more on the inside, which added pressure to what was going on in the situation. But also, he mentioned that Brock Purdy hesitated before he threw. And so if you go back and you watch it, you're going to see that, yes, he didn't throw the ball right when he should have. So he hit his back foot. Ayuk made the cut and was open, and Purdy hesitated just a split second, and that caused him to throw the ball when Hassan Reddick was able to get there and hit his arm. So, and we know what happened after that. But this also kind of matches up with what Greg Cosell told Matt Mayoko and Jennifer Lee Chan on the 49ers Talk podcast. I think it was last week, maybe. I think that they actually spoke maybe the week of the Super Bowl, but this was put on their podcast maybe last week or the week before. I can't recall. But Cosell said that he kind of, the way he talked, he seemed to feel that Brock Purdy regressed over the last few games of the season. Now, that could be that the competition was better, but he talked about how Purdy was missing some throws that he should have made. And so that's definitely an issue, because if that's the case, and he's not saying that he's missing as far as an accuracy thing, he's talking about how he's not throwing the ball, not letting go of the ball when he should. And so that's a problem if he's missing some reads, but we'll see how that goes. Marvin asks, if Shanahan had his way, the forward pass would be illegal. Shanahan is really old school. The 49ers will never bring in an NFL quarterback. If the 49ers were to sign Tom Brady and the 49ers won the Super Bowl, Shanahan could not stand it. The credit would go to Brady. Shanahan, in his stubborn ways, wants to get all the attention. Well, like I don't agree with a lot of that. In fact, I don't really agree with anything in there. I think that Shanahan's not old school. That's his offense is very cutting edge. That's why people keep trying to copy what he's doing and keep stealing his offensive assistants. But did you know that in 2022, the 49ers offense ran the ball 504 times? They passed the ball 512 times. So they actually threw the ball more than they ran it. Now, that wasn't that's not a huge difference. In fact, that's great balance. That's exactly what we want. But, to say that his offense is old and it's out of style, or that it's old school or whatever. No, I think that he wants to run the ball, but I think he wants to throw the ball as well. And I don't think that he cares who gets the credit. He just wants to win the Super Bowl. Jorge asks, with Kinlaw's constant injuries, should John Lynch look at a starting defensive tackle this free agent period? Yes, Lynch should not only should look, but I think that he will look for a starting defensive tackle. The 49ers just can't count on Javon Kinlaw anymore. He's just hurt too much. And when he is playing, he just doesn't seem to make the impact that he should. Dr. WDS asks, third quarterback, vet or draft? He said that he's in favor of drafting a quarterback in the third round, that Trey has had a vet leader and it didn't seem to help, and that Brock doesn't need one. With all that said, if Matt Ryan would play cheap enough, take him. Well, I think that I think that they're going to look at, they're definitely going to bring in another quarterback. If Brock Purdy ends up missing the entire season, like if he has to have Tommy John and he's going to be missing a lot of time, then I would expect that they will bring in somebody who's more experienced. Whether that's to start or whether that's to back up Trey, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I would expect that to happen. If Purdy's going to be back in early September, then I don't know. They could bring in somebody young. Maybe they will draft somebody, another quarterback again. I really don't know. They like to draft quarterbacks, but I don't know. I don't know if they're going to want somebody young. I think they may try to find some veteran that would come and play for cheap. Well, that's all I have for today. I hope that you'll hit that subscribe button and that you'll follow what we're doing. If you have any questions, then jump in that comment section, ask those, or if there's anything that I missed, anything that you didn't like or anything that you loved, feel free to jump in there. I'd love to hear from you, and hope that that everybody has a great day. Enjoy watching the Combine this week if you get a chance to do that. Sometimes it's kind of boring, but sometimes there's some good things going on. But thanks for listening, and go Niners.